when the Great Geographical Discovery in the 16th century and the Enlightenment in Europe starting in the 17th century brought Europe into modern civilization, it became the beginning of the contemporary history of the world. Japan, on the other hand, entered the age of seclusion at this time, and it was the Battle of Sekigahara that determined the course of Japan. The duel was between the Eastern Army, led by Tokugawa Ieyasu, and the Western Army composed of Ishida Mitsunari and others. The strength of the two sides was almost equal, and the Western Army gradually gained the upper hand as the battle began. At this time, Tokugawa Hideaki of the Western Army led a force of 15,600 men to occupy the Matsuo Mountain, observing the situation of the two sides, and did not participate in the battle. Tokugawa Hideaki has long been in secret communication with Tokugawa Ieyasu, the commander of the Eastern Army, but the Western Army is precisely to protect the interests of his adoptive father Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Moreover, the Western Army gave him a promise to take charge of Japan as Kanpaku until Toyotomi Hideyoshi's youngest son came of age. When the commanders of both sides repeatedly sent messengers to urge Tokugawa Hideaki to send troops to no avail, Tokugawa Ieyasu, enraged, ordered a battery of iron cannons to fire on Tokugawa Hideaki's position. This showed that Ieyasu would regard Tokugawa as an enemy if he did not make his position clear soon. The sound of the cannons frightened Tokugawa Hideaki and eventually caused him to betray and attack the Western Army. Tokugawa Ieyasu won his gamble. On April 23, 2025, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy signed Presidential Decree No. 247/2025, which imposed sanctions on 3 Chinese companies. The Ukrainian side believes that these 3 Chinese companies have supplied Russia with materials needed for weapons production, and there are Chinese companies that help Ukraine produce or sell its materials, such as drones. Zelenskyy has been calling on China to publicly support Ukraine's war against aggression. When it comes to the speech about China, are very cautious. And this shot at Chinese companies is a decisive policy adjustment. I don't know if Zelenskyy was aware of Tokugawa Ieyasu's strategy of firing his guns at the Battle of Sekigahara. I do know that the world has entered the decisive moment of the Battle of Sekigahara. Zelenskyy has already fired as a warning to China. Shouldn't he fire on Trump as well?